I am announcing today that we are expanding the call of what they are going to be considering this week. And so, yes, they will be considering the congressional map, but they also will be considering termination of all special districts that were enacted in Florida prior to 1968, and that includes the Reedy Creek Improvement District.
Okay, so this is what politics has become, at least on the right, at least in Florida. Highly targeted, specific, sustained campaigns against corporations, not just for going against the right, for being presented as going against the right. Disney is not some woke corporation, no matter how much they choose to say that. It is not some radical leftist corporation. The right has decided we need a villain. People seem to be fired up against Disney, so I guess we're gonna run against that. And so they are trying to eliminate the special taxing district sort of special area for Disney, and very highly specific. We're gonna get into how they might face some constitutional concerns over the way that they're doing this, but the Florida Senate passed a bill just yesterday that would dissolve the special taxing district that allows Walt Disney to effectively self-govern within its theme park area. It now requires a vote in the state house before it can go to the desk of Ron DeSantis. That sounds like multiple steps. It's all the same from top to bottom. They're gonna get it. Anyway, the Senate also passed 24-15 just yesterday, a measure that would remove Disney's exemption in a 2021 law about big tech censorship. Again, these are not just legislative strikebacks against corporations that are perceived as ideological foes. It is highly specific, targeting individual corporations, which I shouldn't have to remind you is not how the law is supposed to work. There's actually quite a bit of judicial precedent implying that you cannot do specific strikeback to harm an individual corporation by name. You're supposed to be a little bit more subtle about it, but this isn't about subtlety. This is very much about sending a message. Ron DeSantis doesn't actually hate Disney. They're not actually worried about the moves that Disney has made, temporarily pausing donations or anything. They need it as a symbolic enemy, and that is why they have elevated this. It has real world consequences, not just to Disney, by the way. As we're gonna get to, this could have consequences for any number of people living in Florida, including conservatives. A big hit to their paycheck, which we'll get to. But Kyla, we're now 2 months into this war on Disney. What do you think about it?
Again, like you said before, they're using it to drum up the base, rally them up, get them to turn out for the 2022 midterms. And at the end of the day, they're just fighting their own, they're biting their own hands. And so it's just frustrating to see Republicans time and time again get away with this, BS about this war on LGBTQ people and the representation that companies have on it. It's just ridiculous. But it's also funny to me that the heads and the CEO of Disney, they're like, oh, we're gonna continue to give these campaign funds, and it wasn't until their employees spoke out about it they wanted to pause it. And now look what's happening. Because they're not doing exactly what they want. They're now messing up their business and their money. And so it reminds me of that one quote, first they came for, and so now their money is getting come for.
Exactly. And I'm gonna do one of the things I do. This is a common little impromptu segment I do, pointlessly pointing out hypocrisy. Hey, the right, you hate cancel culture, right? You remember when a couple of people on Twitter didn't like something the CEO of Goya Beans had said. And so the right suddenly was huge fans of Goya and they're all posing with cans of Goya. You know why they were doing that? Because they had a principle, a core foundational principle that just because a corporation or its CEO says something you don't like, you don't boycott it. That apparently was not actually a core principle, because now, just because of their misinterpretation of Disney, as Kyla points out, Disney was super reluctant to do anything in this. They're like, okay, fine, you guys have been protesting for months. I guess we'll temporarily stop proactively funding the people who are doing this. And now the strike back. And again, you can't, constitutionally, you cannot pass laws intended to only harm a specific individual or a specific corporation, or at least that's how it's functioned for hundreds of years. But this is how specific it is. The particular improvement district that they're getting rid of was implemented in 1967 to allow Disney World to do this stuff. So they said, it's not that we're getting rid of these independent districts. We're only getting rid of ones that were founded before 1968. No reasonable judge is going to be fooled by that. That's designed to hurt this one corporation. Now, you might think, well, why not just get rid of all of it? Because there's a lot of them, actually. There's 1,844, and the right loves a ton of these, including places like The Villages. That's actually where he made his announcement about the review of the status, was in a different special district. He's fine with that one, because I guess it was founded more recently or something. This is all just so see-through. And hopefully, while regular Floridians probably initially their knee-jerk reaction is to applaud this, like, yes, the right is finally striking back against those pedophile cartoon mice. In the end, they might not like this because it could have financial repercussions for them. The district that they just eliminated, or in the process of eliminating, generates roughly $105 million annually in general revenue. I mean, why not? This is a massive corporation that has like something like 77,000 employees there. So this is gonna hurt a lot of Floridians directly in terms of their employment. So if they get rid of that, $105 million it collects to operate services goes away. The process becomes a little bit complicated, but in the end, that money does eventually need to be funded. In theory, households in Orange and Osceola counties could face higher property taxes to the tune of something like $2,200. And look, I know conservatives in Florida don't like Disney or whatever, but do they $2,200 not like Disney? They gonna pay that tab for their dumb, misdirected hatred against Disney, Kyla? I think that might break through to them.
I just can't believe that people think that Republicans are like the party of like financial responsibility. Like, not only the waste of like taxpaying money going into like the pockets of these elected officials who are wasting it on like, measures like this that are just gonna get thrown out in court, but now like, people are gonna have to be paying higher property taxes, their like rent and their utilities and like the loss of wages. It's like, oh my God, how much money are you going to waste and throw down the drain to make a point to win an election? Like, it's ridiculous to me. And it just shows like they are morally deprived and corrupt.
100%, yeah. And look, we'll make the point yet again, as we always do. If you're a conservative, does this seem like the actions, this multi-month campaign about supposed pedophilia and grooming, does this seem like the actions of a government that has heard your cries about how much economic pain and anxiety you've been suffering from, and now they're delivering for you? Or does it seem like a distraction? Honestly, I would make the case, maybe we can get this trending. If the deep state existed, wouldn't they want you to be focused on how Disney are secretly pedophiles? Because as long as you're focused on that, you're not coming for them. You're not coming for the actual deep state. You're not a threat to their wallet, to their bank accounts, to the position that they hold. There's an argument that could be made that this is exactly what a deep state would be wanted. For everyone to be hyper focused on a random villain being propped up. Maybe it's a trans swimmer in Texas and now it's a teacher in Illinois. Now, oh, look, Mickey Mouse. Because you're not coming for the deep state when you're coming for this stuff, unless you believe that Walt Disney, who's been dead for a long time, is secretly a member of the deep state. Anyway, maybe try to get that trending. If you have to talk to one of your right-wing relatives, get them to believe that this is actually a plot of the deep state. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.